I'm hoping everybody enjoyed their Christmas day. Even if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope that you are enjoying the end of the year holiday seasons. We got the new year coming up in a few days. And, despite the fact that you may or may not be happy with the fact that Donald Trump will be taking office, it is what it is. So, speaking of Donald Trump, let's go ahead and get into some of the Christmas messages that he gave. Now, the first big one he said was "Merry Christmas to all." You know what I'm saying? But now we're gonna get into the real Trump style. Okay, so now we got
Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago. Always making certain that the United States puts its billions of dollars in repair money,
repair in quotes.
but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything.
Not sure why anything is in quotations, quote unquote anything.
Also, to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high, but if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. Likewise to the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will.
And there's a part two of this tweet, but before we get into the part two or the truth, before we get into part two of this truth, I have to point out a few things. Donald Trump is just casually talking about what if we make Canada a 51st state? First and foremost, we would have to go to war with them. We would have to annex them. And that's not going to happen. But he's talked about going to war with Mexico because of, the drugs and cartels, which, even though United States citizens, we're the ones who can't stop getting high. But that's a conversation for another day. And he talking about,
Why don't we just take the Panama Canal back? Why don't we just take it? Nobody will do anything about it.
no, there will be big consequences to suffer. But again, I mean, like, we just become so desensitized to this stuff that the man who's about to be president just willy-nilly talking about annexing other countries, people are like, oh, that's just Donald Trump, which says a lot about the American populace, such that we would put him back in office after looking at stuff like this for the last 10 years. This isn't new. But again, for and two, their taxes will be cut by more than 60%. Canadians. Well, that's a huge percent. I don't know where he's getting that from, but neither does he, because Trump is just a pathological liar. He just says things. And then, in addition to their taxes, which he capitalized, being cut by more than 60%, he says their businesses would immediately double in size, which immediately just overnight, it would just everything would double in size. I mean, this dude, he doesn't know how anything works. He never has. He's just a swindler. But let's go ahead and get into part two of this Merry Christmas rant that he's, talking about Greenland and Canada and the Panama Canal. So now we got part two because he ran out of space. Part two.
Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics who are constantly trying to obstruct our court system and our elections.
Projection right there, because he still won't admit that he lost in 2020.
And are always going after the great citizens and patriots of the United States, but in particular their political opponent, me.
Me in all caps, because he's a 4-year-old.
They know that their only chance of survival is getting pardons from a man who has absolutely no idea what he is doing. Also, to the 37 most violent criminals who killed, raped, and plundered like virtually no one before them.
No one in history before them.
But were just given incredibly a pardon by sleepy Joe Biden. I refuse to wish a Merry Christmas to those lucky souls, but instead will say, go to hell. We had the greatest election in the history of our country. A bright light is now shining over the USA, and in 26 days we will make America great again. Merry Christmas.
Okay, so he's telling people to go to hell, even though they're still in prison. You pardon them from the death penalty, but they still gonna be in prison for the rest of their lives. So it's not like he's just letting them free. But, of course, Trump's got to spin things because he says they killed, raped, and plundered like virtually no one ever before them. Never, ever before. And then he tells them to go to hell because, that's very normal. Very normal behavior from a very normal person. No, I'm just kidding. Donald Trump is not a normal person. Now he pushed out a whole lot more, but he started talking about Obama. Went on, he had to put Obama in there, you know what I'm saying? And this one says, when you see the guy who said you'll never be president at your inauguration. And that's kind of what this whole thing was about, sticking it to Obama because, Obama wasn't born here, according to Donald Trump. Somehow he was able to be president twice. And that just slipped past everybody, the fact that he wasn't born in the United States. Yeah, so now in 20-something days, here we go again.
Hey now, thank you so much for tuning in here at Politics and Paper. If you like what I do and you support my work, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it and really helps to support what we do here.